Hey guys, how's it going? Genazad here. So I want to do a quick review for Silver Palace for this second closed beta. So the second beta just came out today, and it made a lot of improvements on the previous one, like a ton. So I want to talk about the good and the bad and my overall thoughts on this game. So first of all, Silver Palace has changed a lot. UI elements, improvements to combat, improvements to story, improvements to just overall game modes with additional game modes in it. Let's just go over some of this stuff pretty quickly. So first of all, this is the gacha right here. They have a limited character, they have standard characters. I'm gonna go way more into depth with it, but you can actually try all these characters out. They're definitely missing a ton of characters from the actual full release of the game, because they only have these 3 characters, this limited character right here, and then they're giving out a free 5-star, this character right here, Red Rose, which I would say is probably going to be a lot of people's favorite, because she looks amazing. Looks incredible. So let's quickly talk about how some of the systems work. First of all, it has a lot of similar systems to some other games you might know, so you'll understand it immediately. You have, level, HP, attack, defense, crit rate, crit damage, right?
What on earth is that?
Then you got something like this, which is essentially your weapon, right? Then you got this amazing screen here that people really like. She's a popular character. I don't know why. Could potentially be for any reason. This game does have a gearing system, and it does have substats. We don't know how the substats exactly roll or how hard it is to get good gear, but just keep in mind it does have that kind of system. And then this is, the normal different skills, and you can upgrade all these trees. You got all that stuff, right? Every character has a passive right here. Let me move my camera. And a lot of the passives will be damage increases or different buffs to the teams, those kinds of things. You have a swap-in skill, you have an ultimate skill, you have a normal skill, and then you have basic attacks. And the basic attacks have like charged attacks or combos, all that kind of stuff, right? So we've seen a lot of these before. And this game does also have dupes. You've seen this in a lot of open world gachas probably, and I will definitely say that some of the dupes feel very strong, specifically the 6th dupe, the very final one, and the 2nd dupe, which I would say similar to a lot of games. That said though, a lot of the characters overall seem pretty good. Let me just scroll through them really quickly. Like this 4-star completely crushes everything for me, which is great. This is the main character, and quickly let me say, this game is a detective, Victorian-themed, British, with magic kind of themed game. And so this is how the main character looks. I think she looks pretty damn good. There's also the male main character, which is her brother. This is not a self-insert story game, keep in mind. This is a character that exists in the world with a past, friends, family, all that kind of stuff. You are not exactly her. She is her own character and you're following her story, which is way different than a lot of these other games. I'm also blocking her face, sorry. Then we got this guy.
Let's keep
We got Kaboom. We got her. We got her.
Life has not been
right?
kind to me.
And all of them have little fancy animations. They definitely put some effort into all that kind of stuff, right? So let's quickly talk about some of the other mechanics of this game. So it's an open world game. You can't attack in the open world, but you can jump. They have all sorts of little mechanics like this, like the grappling hook. Well, it bugged out a little bit there, which makes me think of a game like BioShock Infinite, which I think is kind of interesting. And this is the world. This is how it looks. Incredibly good graphics, I'll definitely say. But I think the performance could definitely use some work. This is the 2nd closed beta. This game is going to have a 3rd beta before it actually comes out, so it might still be a ways away, but overall I think the visuals are pretty damn good. My settings are pretty high up, but not at the absolute maximum. I have high, but not very high for some of the settings. I put medium for reflections, and I'm not using any ray tracing either. But I tried to make the settings overall look fairly good. But that said, the performance could be better, but I don't expect it to be perfect. Now, let's talk about some of the other mechanics. Well, first of all, they have this whole giant open world here, and if you open up the map, this is about how big the current area is in the beta. I'd say it's actually pretty sizable, even though it doesn't look the biggest when you're looking at this, because it has all the clusters of buildings and things going on between them. They have little puzzles and little fights and other things you'll do. You open treasure chests, all that kind of stuff. You've probably seen it in some games before, but yeah, it's pretty familiar. Now, One thing I also want to say is this game also has city affairs, and this is a totally different kind of system. Now, I would say this system is similar to the game NTE. It has its own stamina system that regens as well, sort of like a city stamina thing, which is slightly concerning to me. I hope they make it so that it doesn't really feel like a chore to be able to burn it. But you're able to use it on certain mini games like this. So this one is you go into a coffee house and you make coffee for characters. It's a whole mini game. This one is races where you're on horses racing against NPCs. I don't think there's PvP with it yet. This one is so far easily the coolest one. I really enjoy this one actually. As somebody who has never really played poker or Balatro, that's what this entire game mode is. You literally just go in and you play Balatro. And they got single player and apparently multiplayer Balatro is going to be coming out soon as well, which I think is an awesome idea. So just quickly looking at this, if you ever played those kinds of games, you have 12 rounds and you have to beat their score each round, this kind of mechanic, right? So they have these kinds of mini games in it, which I would say they actually put a good amount of effort into this one where it's genuinely a fun time. But maybe if you're an ex-Balatro player, you'd be like, oh, I've already seen it done this before. But regardless, this game does have some overarching mini game stuff like that. Another thing this game has is, you've probably seen in a lot of other games before, it has a roguelike in it. Now, I haven't delved super into that roguelike. However, it has Hilbert's Hotel here, where you play as one character with 3 side characters. You don't swap to the other characters. You play your main one and they're supporting you. So it is more of a roguelike mode where you're not just having to buff up your whole team. It actually feels different to play than some of the other ones. So I think that's potentially a good thing that it feels different. Now let me quickly show you a little mechanic here. So my mini-map right now has a red glow, which means there is a werewolf nearby. So let me just show you how the combat kind of looks here really quickly. Oh, it's not a werewolf this time, it's the Silver Surfer, but regardless, this is what the combat looks like. Overall, pretty nice, I'd say. They made it feel a lot more impactful than it was previously. I don't know why that's flying around. That's a little bit of a bug. Oh my god, the fence is going crazy. But regardless, the game feels a lot better than it did in its previous beta. They've definitely improved it a lot. Characters feel smoother, there's more hit impact, and yeah. So you can sometimes just fight enemies around on the map. You can use energy to just claim the rewards as well. But you can also claim the rewards on a lot of these other things. So I talked a little bit briefly about it before, but this game does have gear and all those kinds of systems. So if you go right here, these are all different bosses that you can fight, and you get gear sets from them. So I'm assuming that this game is probably going to do a similar thing where when a new character comes out, it has new gear sets, etc., right? Like, for instance, this set is probably going to be on the current banner character, Cinderella. Speaking of the current banner character, Cinderella, let's talk about this. This is a hotly contested topic about the banner system. So they have the rate-up character and 3 4-stars, right? So you'll see that she shares the banner with 3 other characters, right? Well, this game doesn't have 50-50. We don't actually really know if it has any sort of system like that because it doesn't say. All we know is at 100 pulls, you get the banner character. Before that, from what I gather from this, it might actually be 25% chance, which seems a little crazy because most games, they'll use 50% chance of getting the banner character, 50% chance of another one. But this seems a bit silly if it is just 1 in 4. It doesn't actually say what the rates are. And the strange thing is, on her weapon here, if you look at this, it says 50%. So there's 5 total choices here, and it's a 50% chance of getting the rate up and 50% chance of something else. So we don't exactly know how that's going to work right now. But it seems kind of crazy if this was actually a 25%. So this is something a lot of people have been discussing, and I'm not really sure. Now keep in mind, to do a single pull in this game, it actually costs 360 currency. And a lot of people, for some reason, think high amount of currency equals bad, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is how much currency the game actually gives you for those pulls. Like, it could theoretically say 10,000 currency for a single pull, but if you're getting thousands and thousands like every 5 seconds, then it would be fine, right? What I will say is that I think that the gacha system is unfinished. Partially because they don't even say something like what the actual percentage is right here, and also because when I've been going around the world, the numbers don't really make sense. When I open a small chest, I get 20 currency. And this is like the basic crappy small chest. When I solve an entire puzzle, I get 5 currency, 1/4 of a small chest that you find all over the place. So it doesn't really make sense. So I think they don't really have the numbers set up perfectly for the system. So I'm still gonna withhold some of my judgment on that. That said though, I understand anybody who wants to talk about how they don't like the system or how they feel. Totally understandable. Because you should voice your concerns right now while the game is still in beta, and it's before the final beta, so there's still time to change. So we'll have to see. I'm not going to go too hard on that because we don't know yet. Now on this one, I believe the banner poll is 80 polls for pity. So on the standard banner, it's actually pretty good. 80 polls and you get a character, not bad. While the limited is 100. So I mean, if we get a bunch of standard polls, hopefully they'll move some of the limited characters to standard and we'll get stuff, but who knows if that's going to happen. Most games don't actually do that. Now, let's talk about a few other things. First of all, this game has city property. We've seen the system kind of in some other games, but it seems a little bit different in this game. Basically, you just buy segments of the city, and then you can upgrade them and they just passively give you currency. And then you can set up some of your characters as basically like a warden of the city, and then they will generate more currency or have other special effects. So like I've had this running for a while, so I just got 3,500 of the currency. And well, I'm way too broke to be able to buy these things. I'm a really broke landowner, but if I had 72,000, I would probably buy some of those. While if I go to something like Felix North, I can probably just immediately buy or upgrade some of these. Let me see. Nope. I already bought them and I already upgraded them. Regardless, you understand the point. You buy these businesses, you build up the currency, then you're able to actually just go into the shop and you're able to spend some of that currency. But yeah, so that's another system in this game. It depends on how much depth it gets though, so we'll have to see. Now, let me talk about one of the best parts of Silver Palace that I don't actually even want to show. The story. I think that the story of this game is actually really good. I'm genuinely kind of surprised because I never really expect much out of gacha games, and especially not out of open world gacha games. But I think the story is one of the biggest highlights of this game. Really good voice acted, tons of cinematics, actually interesting plot, no self-insert main character, no amnesia plotline. It doesn't have any of the worst tropes that I feel like I just don't really want to see. It's not like everything that has those tropes is bad, but it's interesting to see a game that's doing something different, and it genuinely makes me happy to see. So I think the story is incredibly interesting, that it's going for something totally different, and it's a whole detective case mystery with twists and turns, which I think is really good too. The main character is their own person with a sibling, and I think the very start of the game has an incredibly strong start. Probably one of the strongest I've seen in a gacha that kind of sucks you into the story and makes you go, oh, wait, this is really cool. I want to see what's going on here. But I don't really want to spoil or show any of it because it genuinely is just cool to see on your own without really getting any spoils for it. Along with that, I just want to say one of the other best parts of the game is that it looks really, really good. The visuals are probably one of the first things that people got interested in when they saw it. The whole Victorian era thing and just really high fidelity graphics. You have maneuvering around on a horse like this. You have drifting on a horse. The horse can even fly. So this is how you maneuver around the city. You got all this kind of stuff. Overall, pretty good vibes, cool looking around the city. Now, some concerns I might have is I hope that the city has enough going on in it, because many, many, many gachas have open worlds at this point, but they don't have enough to do in the open world. So I'm hoping that this game will not only have lots of puzzles, but maybe have lots of cool little events and things you'll find. Because at a certain point, when you play enough open worlds, you start to get concerned of, well, how much am I really gonna do? Am I just playing the game for vibes, where I just walk around and don't really do anything? So I'm hoping that they keep adding to this city. It seems like they've already added more things since the last beta, like a lot more puzzles and stuff, but I hope they keep adding more meaningful things. Keep in mind, since this game is on its second beta and there's a third on the way, I would say most likely this game's not going to be out until either the end of this year or next year. So they got a lot of time to cook. So people's feedback should be hopefully pretty valuable because they actually have the time to keep improving this game. So I'm really hoping that they keep doing that, because so far this beta has definitely been a step up of the previous one, especially when it comes to combat. And I think one good example I can show you is this character. She's a 4-star called Bentham, and she actually has some kind of cool mechanics to her. Let me just quickly go in and show you a little bit of this stuff. So this is just a little demo that'll give you some understanding. She has like this whole mechanic you see at the bottom, right? You have the normal, you do all your basic attacks, the classic kind of thing you see all the time. But then she has this other interesting mechanic. She goes into a stance and she's able to do these like Chun-Li kicks right here, right? And she's the only one who could do that. But then she also has this thing where you can forcibly go into the stance when you want to. And this is just like this random 4-star character, which I think is pretty cool. And she plays differently based on those mechanics. You can also chain her skills together. Yeah, you can also, after you use certain skills, you can chain it to do more attacks, like this. And if you do this, it chains into the third attack, which I think is pretty nice. And it's not the most complex stuff, but when combined with all the other characters, I think it can be pretty cool. So when she's in this stance, for instance, you can go like this, and then you can do a different attack chain that also is able to parry. So this is just one character. Some characters have better feeling attacks than other ones. I would say her attacks don't really have the big oomph of something like the Greatsword character, but overall I think they feel pretty decent. But that's just a really simple display of how some of the combat works in Silver Palace, because it is an important aspect. This game is using the swap combat style of 4 different characters. It does have elements where you build up a resonance bar, and then certain elemental field effects will take effect in this game. But one other thing that I think is a little bit interesting for how it works is it also has this reactor system where as you do certain missions or certain things in the world, you get these little buffs that you can apply a limited amount to some of your characters, adding some customizable stuff. Hopefully they start doing different effects in the future, but I think it's a cool idea, and it adds a little bit more flexibility to team building potentially. So I think that could be kind of cool, and hopefully we see more of that. But that's overall my current review of the game. Now keep in mind, I mean, I am sponsored, but I asked them, I wanted to make sure, am I allowed to say whatever I want about the game? And they were totally cool with it. So I think that's important to say, because there are some developers that I have asked, am I allowed to do a review video where I say whatever I want? And they are like, not really. But fortunately Silver Palace was cool with it, so I'm glad I was able to kind of just put out all my thoughts out there. Tell me what you think, because overall I think the game's pretty solid, but it could definitely use some polish in certain areas. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.